Wait. Oh no. Oh gosh. Ooh. Yep. Yeah, looks like a bomb.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey travelers, welcome back to Roberto's Room. So, if you've not been living under a rock for the last year and a half, no doubt you have been hearing all of the things that have been said about the Snow White 2025 new remake, the latest in a long line of movies that did not need to exist. This movie is, I believe, the pinnacle of why movies like this don't need to exist, and I want to talk about them because I think everybody's talking about exactly how badly this movie has been performing this weekend. This is opening weekend. By the way, I have not seen this movie. I do not plan on watching this movie, and I don't think that neither should you. However, I do think that it is important that we, especially on this platform, talk about why this movie failed and what needs to change, because this movie is the pinnacle of what has been going on in Hollywood for decades now, and it is emblematic of the many problems that have plagued movies today. So let's talk. Of course, again, as you know, this movie has bombed. This movie has made under $90,000 worldwide for opening weekend, which is abysmal. And honestly, if you look even at Rotten Tomatoes, which I want to talk about Rotten Tomatoes because when it comes to movies that are rife with controversy, like this new Snow White, not remake, because it's not really a remake, we're just going to make what we want and put Snow White on the cover, and we're gonna sell it like it's Snow White, but it's not Snow White, because that's what it is. This is not really a remake, and again, the whole Disney remakes thing has gotten out of hand. I mean, why do we need them?
Why, oh God!
I mean, I'm all for the Lilo and Stitch one because honestly, I think that one's going to add something to the conversation because Chris Sanders, who created Stitch, is actually involved in that. And I think other than that, the only really genuinely good live action adaptation of a Disney film has been Cinderella, because it actually added to the source material, because you had people that genuinely liked the source material, and Kenneth Branagh, who is just an amazing director. His version of Hamlet is my favorite. I love it, and I love him in it. But after that, because it saw some good success with Cinderella and also The Jungle Book, which I honestly think added to the actual movie, because The Jungle Book, it's not the most popular movie in the world, and I actually enjoyed seeing it in live action. But after that, all of the remakes are just unnecessary. Let's just start there. All of the Disney remakes are unnecessary, in my opinion. They really add nothing to the conversation. They don't do anything better than what the source material that they're basing it on already did. And honestly, if you're not going to do things better or even up to par, then why do them at all? Before we get into it though, if you would, please drop a like down below, and as well, most importantly, please subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you along for the ride. Animation nowadays, especially hand-drawn animation, after the advent of Pixar, and DreamWorks has gone this way too. You know, everyone's gone this way of computer CGI animation, which that's what The Lion King is. It's not a live-action adaptation. It's a CGI adaptation. But after the advent of CGI, everything is now CGI. We have lost the hand-drawn animation, and it is just, it's sad. Because there are things you can do, and it's evident, so evident in the live action adaptations that there are things that only hand-drawn animation is suitable for. And you can see this all throughout the plethora of the Disney remakes that they've gone through, where animation clearly works better, but they wanted to jam it into, we want to make it in real life, which again, it's not really real life. We go to the movies to escape. So really the whole conversation of let's make it a live action adaptation so it looks like it's in the real world is a complete and utter nonsensical argument to begin with. But so let's concentrate on the absolute nuclear bomb that is Snow White. Number one, I think the main reason why it failed is because, as I mentioned a little bit ago, it doesn't want to be a faithful live action adaptation. Which again, the whole point of the live action adaptations is to adapt what is already there, keeping the soul of the source material. And a few of the Disney live action remakes have done this. Famously, if you were stuck at home, as most of us were during COVID-19, Mulan. The Mulan live action remake that took out all of the songs, all of the fun, all of the characters, all of the romance, everything that made Mulan Mulan. We took it out and replaced it with people climbing up walls, thinking that this was a wuxia film, and I'm sorry, Disney, you don't have the skill to make a good wuxia film. You do not know how to make Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That movie was a masterpiece, and just the fact that you tried it and put it under the guise of a Mulan film was abysmal. They wanted to make a certain type of film, and we all know what that is. Certain YouTubers love to call it the message, and I think that that's an appropriate term for it, because that's what it is. They are trying to push the woke ideology, and they are using these live action remakes because, oh my gosh, it's reliving our past. It's preying on nostalgia. And what they're doing is just that. They're putting nostalgic images on the screen while they are, on the other hand, loading it up with all this stuff that really wasn't in there because it really didn't need it. It was already a good story, and if you were going to adapt it, then adapt it. Again, Cinderella, good case for a good live-action adaptation, the same with Jungle Book. But Snow White, like Mulan, did not want to adapt the source material, and it was very clear and very evident by the people involved because, and we all know, we've all seen it for the last year, Little Miss Rachel Zegler, who, and I want to disagree with a few YouTubers that I've seen on this topic, she can't sing either. She can't sing either. I've trained as a singer, I know what it takes, and it's really easy to sound good in the cinema world where you can cut things together. Look at Kenneth Branagh, ironically we're going to mention him again, Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Kline singing as Miguel and Tulio in The Road to El Dorado. They cannot sing, and they famously said they can't sing, and yet they are able to put together a good performance for the movie because you take the best clips of that person. And if you look at the very rushed music video that they made in the castle in Spain, in the middle of Spain somewhere, they decided to hijack this castle with 100 Disney paid people and have her shoot this music video. She mumbles the entire way through that song, so the whole Rachel Zegler can sing thing, we gotta put that to bed. She can't sing. I'm sorry, she can't sing. And that's all she had going for her. I think that's the only positive that I've heard people mentioning about her in this movie. But the fact that she went and just derided the source material. It wasn't even that she was like, well, you know, some things can be improved. She was, no, it's not 1937. Weird. We've all heard it. We've all seen it. And I'm sorry, but this is what you get. This nuclear bomb of a movie, if you look at the correct scores on Rotten Tomatoes, not what they're pushing on Rotten Tomatoes, because it actually is a lot lower if you know how to look at the real score. It's abysmal. The box office is abysmal. And again, this is the pinnacle moment. Ironically, they chose what really is to be considered Walt Disney's crowning achievement to make the biggest woke statement. And that to me is disgusting. And it should be disgusting to everyone that calls themselves a fan of Walt Disney, a fan of the studio. We need to send a message to the studio, and I think it's being sent because of the box office that I saw. The numbers came in and they were abysmal, and they'll be on the screen. I am glad that we are taking a stand and not seeing this. I am sorry. I feel sorry for the few YouTubers that, they wanted to see it just so they could put out a review. I get that. I understand that. I'm not doing that.
The highest honor awarded for your years of service, the 21 Fart Gun Salute.
Unless somebody wants to drop me $20 to go see it, I'm not going to watch it because I just don't want to support it. I'm not into that. I don't want to support it. I'll watch it for free when it comes out on Disney Plus out of sheer morbid curiosity, but that's it. I don't want to see it. And again, back to the movie itself. If you're not going to improve on the source material, or at the very least make it kind of the same quality, then there's no point in you making it. The whole conversation, this was a live action remake, right? And another thing that happened with this movie is that Peter Dinklage, who was in the Narnia movies, who was in Game of Thrones, had to start running his mouth about, it's such an antiquated notion to have dwarves in a movie and call them the Seven Dwarves and grumpy and blah, 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 blah. And because he whined as well, now, of course, you can't hire short actors. And Martin Kleba, actually, who was in the movie, thought that was just a travesty. And I think it too, because the whole point is you're making a live action remake. It's not like you have a movie with fairies where you have to make them CGI. You have actors that you could make the movie with. You just chose not to. And you chose to, instead of holding your ground and having a little bit of courage and making a good, genuinely good movie, you chose to just bend over backwards for everyone that has a problem on the wokey side. Because God forbid somebody on the other side of the aisle has a problem with your movie, especially when you have the lead actress basically calling out more than half of this country and saying that I hope they never know peace. Well, it looks like she'll never know profit.
Emotional, damn it!
Because unlike the tried and true method for an entertainer, nobody cares about your politics. You're there to entertain. You're there to make a good product that we can go and escape. We don't want to be reminded of the real world when we go to see a movie. That's the whole point of movies. That is the magic of movies, was to make a point of escape. That's why we went to the theater. That's why we saw movies. And that's why I love the old Disney movies like Snow White. My wife and I actually saw the original Snow White this weekend in celebration of the new one releasing. We didn't go and see that. We went to see what Walt intended. And it is a phenomenal film. It is a masterpiece. And no wonder that it started an amazing studio that used to make movies that meant something. And I hope that this movie, this catastrophe, this nuclear bomb of a film that they just put out under the name of Snow White, which was Walt Disney's crowning achievement, will be the final straw to tell Disney, we don't want this anymore. We don't want to see this anymore. We want you to go back to making original things that we liked. And yeah, okay, fine. If you want to play up on our nostalgia, that's fine. But make it so that you're actually respecting the source material. It's actually one of the reasons why I'm actually excited for Lilo and Stitch, because I think, especially because they have the original creator of Lilo and Stitch, who, by the way, also created How to Train Your Dragon. That man has been on a winning streak for the last 20 years. He's involved in the movie. He voices Stitch, just like he voiced Stitch back in the original 2002 film. So I'm excited for that film because it at least is telling the source material, I love you. I want to adapt you correctly in a way that makes sense, in a way that adds something positive to the conversation and isn't just, we're going to bend over for the message, we're going to bend over for everything wrong with Hollywood nowadays. And no, we're going to make a good movie. That's all I want. That's all that we can ask for. That is the bare minimum that we can ask for when these movies are spending over $300 million to make a movie. When you have all of these studios spending over $300 million to make a movie, is that they make a good one. That's not that much to ask. And especially Disney, who they didn't have a bad film in their catalog. My wife and I just saw Black Cauldron. I saw it for the first time, which I will be doing a review on it because it was incredible. It was dark.
It's so dark and gothic.
Like, you took kids seriously. Like, you know what I mean? It did not pull any punches. It was very, like, it had a tone, it had a message, it had a reason for being there, and it was a genuinely good film, and that's seen as one of, like, the dark horses of Disney. I'd take that any day of the week over the diseased Snow White live-action remake. Any day of the week. And the thing is, recently even, Disney was doing this, and doing it well. Because Princess and the Frog, that's not that old of a film. I know now, yes, it's 15 years old, but that was back when we thought Disney was going to make a comeback. They were going back to the hand-drawn animation. They actually made a genuinely good movie, which, by the way, has some great representation because it makes sense. You're making it in New Orleans, and it was great. You had some phenomenal jazz music, which I love. That's one of the reasons why I love that movie. But you made a movie that was a good movie and was concentrating on being a good movie first and not pushing the agenda, not pushing the message. So I hope that we can go back there. Again, I hope that what has happened this weekend and what has been going on, because you saw Captain Un-American, Brave New Disaster, and Snow White, I hope that this is sending a message to Disney. Hopefully, it's finally getting through to them that we are done seeing this nonsense, that we want something better, and they're capable of giving it to us. So please, let me know what you think about my thoughts on this. And also, if you would, please drop a like. And if you have not subscribed, if you're watching this video and you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We are growing it. I have some things, as I mentioned in previous videos that I've made, that I have up and coming, especially if we hit those benchmarks. I really want to get to that 500 subscriber benchmark. So let's get there. Well, travelers, I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, go with grace.